Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Hope you've had a great week. Hopefully, you got that tie you were looking to add to your collection.
Oh man, ties.
Those socks, that amazing macaroni art.
I'm trying to think of how many of our current membership, definitely paid, but also our standard like Discord members and Facebook members, how many of them would wear a tie with any regularity?
Ooh.
I'm thinking, except my first thought was like Russell Clark, who is a fantastic pastor and does some amazing work with his church. And I thought maybe he wears a tie, but then I realized that probably not, because he is a much more modern pastor and he's much more,
Yeah,
I
I
kind
don't
of
see him.
a loving casual thing where I don't have to get like, he needs to wear his uniform kind of thing. Like you need to know this is who I am, what I'm representing, but not in a ostentatious or, very business corporate look. So
I
I
feel
don't
like
know. You guys wear ties? Anybody?
Yeah,
Y'all
I was
let
say,
us know.
I feel like ties have gone the way of the dodo when it comes to dads for the most part.
Unless you're just like corporate. Like if that's your
Maybe.
job, like well, even that, I don't know because
I feel like
my,
kids are trying to figure out how to cool up their parents a little bit, like and
I
and
think
most
you're right.
most kids would be like, "That's really sus, Dad. I don't know about that."
Right, right. You ain't gonna have Riz to wear a tie, Dad.
Actually, what would be great Father's Day is like, all right, the kids are
Skibbity
like, "All right,
toilet.
Dad, we're gonna yeet these ties out of the house."
Right into the skibbity toilet.
Yeah.
I don't
Right?
know. What's hilarious is my kids started saying skibbity toilet, Ohio, yada yada. I'm
Jeez.
like, cool. Where did that come from? And so they started
And
showing me
Google
some
search.
stuff, right? And skibbity is a really, I love it, but it's a very interesting song with a very interesting dance added to it, whatever, that this is the skibbity dance. And uh, it's Little Big
Sounds
was
like
the,
it sounds like something you do when you're trying to get to the bathroom. You just skibity yourself right there and there as
the
fast
toilet.
as you can.
I don't remember where Little Big is from because
Their country. I know that.
no, you're thinking from Little Big Town.
Oh, my bad. Little Big Town.
Yep, Little Big Town. But that's a good reference. That's a good reference. They are from Russia, specifically
Oh,
from the region of, oh my God, Irkutsk, Irkutsk, Irkutsk. And I apologize for anybody from Russia who speaks Russian, knows what I'm doing, know that I'm screwing this up. I'm a redneck from Georgia. My pronunciation is not that great, but the skibbity dance is, I mean, if you see it, people doing it, whatever, it's like the Macarena, right? But it's
oh,
more
okay.
of a European thing, and it's there and it's huge. And there's some amazing videos of like people at conventions and stuff that are doing the skibbity, and it's cool and it's got a really solid beat, but it is the weirdest video that I think I've ever seen. It's it's weird. I mean, you just have to watch it. Go watch Little Big Skibbity and experience the Russian insanity of them all doing this dance, like animals doing this dance, like the baby in a stroller
Okay.
doing the dance. And it's just like, what?
I say if anybody from Russia is listening to this, they're probably like, we expect nothing less from you Americans to not understand what we're talking about.
That was pretty French of you, man, but okay. I see
Was
what
it?
you're
I don't.
trying. Yeah, that was pretty
Try.
French.
Sorry, I didn't get enough into my Boris in Natasha.
Just stick to English, right? Yeah.
Okay, I will.
You be moose and squirrel. You
Moose
be
and
moose and
squirrel.
squirrel.
Okay, there
Squirrel.
we go. There we go.
Lost all of our millennials.
I know we did. It just lost them all. They were just
And
that was. They're like that
listeners.
was so
What is
cringe.
this
We're
crap
out.
these old people are talking about?
We're just trying, man. We're just trying.
No, there's
Oh,
probably older millennials who are at least aware of Bullwinkle and Rocky the
you
Flying Squirrel.
you would hope so because there was the like kind of incarnation of those or recreation of that cartoon not too long ago, actually. I think it was released, I don't remember what streaming service it was on, but they like redid Rocky and Bullwinkle. It had like new animation and whatnot. So, oh, speaking of new animation, here's one for you for way back in the Wayback Machine. Phineas
Sherman.
and Ferb, new season just dropped.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So
What?
so Disney now holds
Why? What?
well
Okay, sorry.
because it became very popular again. I think partially because parents from, kind of our realm of like the 40 to 50 year range with small children trying to like get kids to watch stuff that were things that we grew up with or whatever.
Yeah.
And they got a hold of, well, also too, I think TikTok really helped a lot because the main guy who brings it all about, he plays the evil professor, Doofel, something, I can think of his name.
Doofenshmirtz.
Doofenshmirtz, yeah. So he he got on TikTok and just started doing all these things and got the interest of a lot of people on TikTok. And then Disney reached out and they were like, "We want to sign you for a season." And so they put together 40 episodes, I believe, of Phineas and Ferb that dropped this summer. I
Wow.
think it was like just last week or whatever.
Yeah.
But they brought the entire original cast back for it, which is pretty wild. I haven't watched any of the episodes yet, but my kids are
That's
super excited about it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's amazing. I just and it looks I looked it up, of course. Of course, that's what I
Of
do
course.
while we were
He's a
talking
fact
about
checker.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Danny the
And
fact checker.
well, not fact checker. No, I just like I need to know what you're talking about. I'm like, what? I got to Google this. Because if I don't Google it now, by the time we get off the show, I'll have forgotten completely about it. But
I
now I
hear
have
you.
the information. It's bouncing around in my giant empty cranium. That is hilarious, man.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
and if I had a nickel for every time I used a Dr. Doofenshmirtz quote, I'd have two nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's still more than you'd think. That is a Doofenshmirtz quote. Yeah, you failed me. I knew you weren't going to get it.
I didn't get
I
it.
don't know why we're
Sorry.
friends.
I don't
One of
know.
Doofenshmirtz's things is if I had a nickel every time this really weird thing happened, I'd have two nickels. But still, that's a lot of times to be, to have a squirrel in your shoe or whatever else.
Well, our good friend Phil from the
Heimerman?
podcast, yes, he posted when we did the perimenopause episode a funny little GIF in Discord that involved
A certain platypus?
Doofenshmirtz. Well, that too. So it's Doofenshmirtz, and it says menopause, and then in the next one it says Perry the menopause.
Yes. Yes, that's perfect.
And
We got
I
to get
sent it
Phil
to
on the show, man. We got to get
again.
it, at least bring him to a party or something. I got to meet this guy. I think I'd really like
I got
hanging
to
out
do the
with him.
one episode with him when you were out,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was
Yeah,
a
I've
lot of
listened to that
fun.
one.
But yeah, we definitely need to bring him back on because he's
I didn't like that.
hysterical.
I don't like it when you have fun with other people. I'll admit it. They're funnier than me. And I'm like, he's not going to come back. He's like, Danny, screw it, dude.
Shoot.
I don't need you. I got Phil now. Whatever, Phil. No, I do like Phil. And I think they have a very funny podcast and I really like their understanding of all of these things in view of being a dad, you
Well, and they've
know?
got littler kids than we have, so we're right on it right now with the,
Yeah.
hop
Paw
on pop
Patrol.
culture.
Yeah. Hop on pop culture.
Oh yeah, no Paw Patrol. They don't like that stuff.
No, not at all. That's hilarious. It's like
I'm
this
on board with them about that.
dystopian, authoritarian nightmare that is Paw Patrol. Yeah, yeah, pretty much, buddy. I feel you. So,
Goodness. But
anything
yeah.
else new and exciting going on with you this month? It's June. This will come out just after Father's Day, so I hope your Father's Day has been amazing. But anything else happening to you in June?
In June. I don't think there's much happening for me in June. I know that your house is definitely just
Knucking futs, man. I
rocking the
mean,
June
just
train.
Jeez Louise. Now Pride's real big in our house, of course.
That's
So
what
we
I'm
got a
saying.
lot of Pride things. Our local Pride celebration is actually the weekend of Father's Day this year.
Okay.
So, and then I'm in Scouts for at least a little while longer. And so Friday night, I have to go to our low school. It's Boston School Forest. So it's a big forest that's set aside to teach kids about forest stuff. So they're having the Trappers Association come out on Saturday and spend like most of the day until like 2 o'clock
Are they the Trapper Keepers?
teaching. They are not, but I guarantee you I'm going to say that joke at least two more times because I did it in the meeting and they were like, "Oh, that's funny." I'm like, "You Midwestern people need more humor." Okay, that was hilarious. That wasn't just funny. And I applaud you, sir, for picking up on immediately. But so like Friday night, I got to go out there and we're going to spend 2 or 3 hours prepping food because we're doing a fundraiser Saturday for them or with them to raise money for the troop, obviously. And we're going to be like cooking hot dogs and brats and beans and pasta salad and chips and a brownie and drinks and all that stuff. So we're just going to go in like Friday night and like cook all the pasta and chop all the onions and do all that kind of stuff. So that's my Friday night, which I was kind of hoping to go hang out with some friends in town because our Pride Festival starts Friday morning. Okay, cool, no problem. I don't need to go out anyway. What would I do? I'm not going to drink. So just stand there and watch people get drunk, which I've done before, but it's boring. And then Saturday is that thing. We have to be there at 7 in the morning, and it's going to be Marcus and I, and we're going to be there until 11. All right, at which time my wife will be dropping my 10-year-old off at our Pride Festival, and she will be and Lizzie will be selling her crocheted animals and items at the festival with a friend of mine. And my friend said, "Well, yeah, just she wants to do it. Let her come sit with me and, see how she does. And I'll, show her how to do like the money and, just make sure she's got everything she needs. And yeah, she just sit here with me." And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I told, and only a few people will get this joke, but I told her, I said, "Well, it is Pride, and we need to, represent." And she said, "Well, I will get some rainbow bees." Like, that's fantastic. And I said, and people that know will know, but it won't be you and it wouldn't be me if I didn't actually go look this up regularly. But I said, "You should make some that are yellow, white, purple, and black." And she said, "Yellow, white, purple, and black. What is that?" And I said, "Well, that is the non-binary flag." And she's like, "Okay, cool. All right." And I said, "And more important, you would then be making NBs." Yeah. Come on. That's worth a laugh. That's good, y'all. Come on. That's good. So she's been making NBs and I hope she makes a bunch of them. But this child has lost her mind with crocheting. I mean,
Nice.
I bet she's has 50 frogs and mushrooms, and she made this octopus that's bigger than her head that has
Yeah.
smaller octopi inside it. And
Eh.
she's like, "This is the mama and these are the babies." Boop. And I'm like, "This is weird, is what this is." But okay, cool. They're adorable and she's adorable. She
Well,
made a kit. Okay. She said, "I'm going to send a kit to my friend in Georgia. It's one of like my personal friend's daughters. And I'm going to send them because they want to get into crocheting." So I made a little, like I say, care package, made a little package for them and sent it. And I'm like, "That's awesome. Okay, cool." And I want to say this as clearly as I can. So I'm going to look it up because she put a note on top of the box, right? She goes, "Dad, we need to send this. This is what's in it. And I want to send it as soon as we can." I'm like, "That's cool." And the box has a handwritten sign on top that says, "Warning, may result in getting hooked." Right? And I'm like, my child, the heart of my heart at this moment. This is the best pun that I've heard all week.
now is that inside the box or is that?
It's on top. Yeah, it's on
Oh
outside the
gosh.
box. She wrote it and put it on outside. I'm assuming we're gonna have to tape it up a lot so it doesn't get ripped in transit. But she wrote a tips and tricks note. Okay.
Okay.
And this is delightful. And I'm going to try to read this too. So the top of it is all the abbreviations that you use standard in crocheting. Then I don't know them. And I'll be like, SC means a single stitch, single crochet stitch, SC. And I'm like, "That's delightful." She's put, "I gave you enough things for 2 octos with extra stuffing, but don't overstuff them. All right. If you need any help, ask me. And then last, it's hard. Make sure not to give up." And
Mm.
I'm like, "My
Well
child,
done.
what are you
Well
doing?"
done.
Right? Just
Well
doing
done.
good capital G out in the world already. And I'm like, I got to take pictures of this kid. I need to put this in your like archive. So when you're
That's
35 and
excellent.
going to be president or something, you'll have this like, "Well, actually, when I was a kid, I gave my friend tips and tricks. I think I could do that for the American public, or whatever."
Crocheting is big in our house more from
Yeah.
like Corey. She's
Yeah.
always been a crocheter. Actually, it's really funny. She started working on a blanket when we started dating over 20 years ago that isn't finished yet because
Yeah.
it's like this king size blanket that's supposed to like cover the
Wow.
whole bed.
Corey.
And
All right. Does Corey listen to the show? Think with
no,
any regular? You
not
tell her I
usually.
said this. You tell her I said you pull this out and link it to her. Okay, Corey. I had a girl, all right, that just like went out with her once and her sisters and yada, but a thing. And she crocheted me a chenille 9 by 9 California king size blanket.
Good Lord.
And it was amazing and heavy and very soft. And it couldn't have been more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks because we'd gone out and then I hadn't seen her for almost a month and she showed up with this blanket. Now it's possible she was making it for someone else and, you know, that she decided to switch it over to me because, just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, come
I
on,
know that she
Corey.
doesn't pick it up that
Corey,
much. But I
come
was going to
on.
tell you though, you were talking about animals. So I
Before you
came
were so
across
rudely
this
interrupted.
on Instagram actually. So they have these things called pocket dragons that actually, if you're wearing like a suit coat or whatever, you know how you have like a pocket square
Hmm.
type of deal.
Yeah.
So this folds up like a pocket square, but it actually unfolds into a little dragon that you like put your index finger like in the bottom part of it.
Yes.
It turns into like a little puppet or whatever
I love it.
with wings and a tail and everything. And I was like, I need a pocket dragon. That's freaking awesome. How
Yeah.
cool is that?
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but I know, like, so yeah, so that was kind of neat to make. Actually, my sister-in-law made the kids crocheted robes with hoods and everything, and
Wow.
they love wearing those.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, those are super nice, either if they're just cold in the house or it's cold outside or whatever. But
I
yeah,
have an amazing hunter green sweater with a slight, like a mock turtleneck almost, that Marnie knit for me. And the neck hole is a little small, and the arms go past my fingertips, right? And I got fairly long arms, okay? And
so in
every
other
time I
words, did
wear
she
it,
tap in? She
I'm
tapped
having to,
into her Mrs. Weasley. Then is that what it is?
yes,
Like,
yes. And I'm like, and I love it. I mean, and it's handmade. I'm like, and I know people do that. It shouldn't be like that surprising, but just the fact that she did that for me, I just, yeah, it really, she knits constantly. She'll sit down probably 3, 4 times a week. And then Saturday, when we go to our Pride Festival, she will be dropping my kid off and going over to Knit in Public, which is a thing that's happening nationwide, I think, Saturday. And so she's going to sit with her other knitting friends and knit. And
what have you seen where like they'll come out and there's like graffiti yarn? Have you ever heard of that?
then, no.
No. So instead of, graffiti itself, like where, you're tagging a building or whatnot, people actually they'll make things that the last bit of it is like basically stitching it together to like adhere to like a tree or a pole or whatever it is. And it's really quite neat to see this stuff just pop up. Like there'll be like a group of people that just, it's like a flash mob type of thing. And they just show up somewhere and, maybe they do like all of the light posts in on like a certain street
Oh,
or
look at
something like
that.
that. It's really
Ah, they did a
cool.
whole tree. I mean, like the whole
Yeah.
tree.
Yeah.
Did a tree. I'm like, oh, they probably put some yarn around it like 4 feet up. No,
Oh
this tree
no.
goes like 30 feet in the high. And that's
Yeah.
amazing.
No, they're serious about this, the way they do that. And
Yeah.
so I've seen that. I've seen where actually I saw there's a Jeep that drives around town here and they crocheted a wheel cover.
Nice.
So they've got a wheel cover for
That's
their,
cool.
which is pretty cool. I was just going to point out too, for anybody who's listening, for anybody who's listening and they're like, I don't even know, I don't know how to crochet. Like, maybe somebody just like, you've always got to be doing something with your hands, like that kind of thing, or whatever it is. Like, and crochet is great for that, honestly, because like, you're moving. There are these really cool crochet kits. We're not sponsored by this company, but that would be pretty cool too. But it's called Woobles. Woobles,
Hmm.
Woobles kits. They have all kinds of kits. They're really neat, like just these little stuffed animals that you can make, and it's just there's great instructions. It comes with all the tools you need, the yarn that you're gonna need, the stuffing, like it's all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We bought some for the kids this past Christmas, and I haven't had a chance to really sit down and do anything with it. Like I said, Corey's the crocheter,
Yeah.
but it does take patience. And I love the fact that, your daughter was like, don't give up.
Yeah.
because it is going to be frustrating. I watched my oldest like basically want to like chuck his design across the room because he was so annoyed with it. But at the same time, I think that, I what I think is going to be good is like he's going with Corey for a week to do like testing and stuff. And I think that the two of them together, like he can work on it while he's there at the hospital. So I think that's going to be kind of a nice doorway in for him because he's
Nice.
not going to sit there and play on the computer or play on the Switch or video games or whatever the entire time. He needs to do other things.
Well, I will say that Lizzie's first was a wooble, and she too wanted to throw it away. She got so frustrated and so angry, and she just, I don't want this thing. And I'm like, okay, kid, tell me what's going on. And I said, okay, well, let me do this. I'm going to hold this. Okay. I don't want to throw it away. But she wanted to because she was so frustrated that she got angry at it, and wanted
Yeah.
to chuck it in the trash, Dad. And I thought that was delightful. And she did come back to it and she did it. And I'm like, do you remember when you started and how frustrated you were and how angry you were? And now you can do a wooble without looking, basically. And she was just like, yeah, you were right. I can do hard things. I'm like, yes, get it.
Yep.
Just
There it
keep that
is.
attitude. So bringing it back to knitting real quick and circling back as we always do to the beginning of the show, we talked about Heartbreak Ridge, one of the most
Oh, we
famous.
weren't even talking about that on the recording. We were talking
Oh
about that
no,
before we hit record.
oops. Well, sorry everyone else. We talked about Heartbreak Ridge earlier and how the gunnery sergeant, Gunny Highway was on there, whatever. And one of the most famous gunnery sergeants and was in several shows, had his own show for a while, was R. Lee Ermey. And R. Lee
Yes.
Ermey is just like was I mean, that guy was it. He really
Ben
was.
Killoy got to meet him in person when he was
Nice.
in service. Like, there's he posted a
Nice.
picture this past week of the two of them in uniform,
Very
getting
cool.
them, which is
Man.
really cool. Yeah,
Yeah. And like Firebase Glory, it was one of those movies that I watched. And I was like, oh my God, war is awful. I mean, it was just,
You-
but he did such a good job in it and so many other things. So he knit a lot. You'd find him on when he was traveling on a plane, he'd be knitting while he flew. And like you said, it gives you that opportunity to put your mind on something that's just kind of let your brain go and you don't have to stress. And it gives you your hand motion so that it kind of gives you that kind of stemming effect. And I love that you brought it up. And I wish everyone else had heard the conversation we had about Heartbreak Ridge before we started, because this would be way more,
we
way
were
more
talking about
accurate.
it the last episode a little bit too, so that's kind of
Yeah,
why it
so
got
maybe
brought up.
somebody would
It's all
would
good.
put two and two together. Phil's
Well,
listening. Phil and Eric are out there. They listen and they'll put it
right.
together with us.
Well, speaking of that person, sorry, how do you say his Arnie? I forget his last
Ernie.
name. Ernie. So I actually came across this. There's a movie a while back that, I mean, this is probably in the late 90s. Michael J. Fox is in it. It's called Frighteners. And he like basically he can see and talk to ghosts, and he uses
Oh,
them to go in and like haunt
yeah.
places, and then he comes in, he's like, I'll get rid of them or
No.
whatever. And Army plays a fallen soldier who is like overseeing this graveyard. And anytime Michael J. Fox's character comes in, he gets like super pissed at him, and he like changes into different characters, and he's like firing guns and stuff at him to like get him out of the place. But I mean,
Appropriate.
it's all the different roles that he had played in some of the other movies and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. It's a very odd movie, but it's good nonetheless. I mean, Michael J. Fox, like that, how we talk about like there's movies that just people like I owe somebody a favor. I feel like
Hmm.
this was one of those movies
Nice.
in a way because there's really nobody else of any importance in it. So, but yeah, that's cool. I've come across him, like I said, a couple times just in different things. So
Yeah. Yeah. He had his own series, and I'm looking it up again because I forget everything. But he had his own mail call. That's what it was.
Mail Call,
And
yeah, that's my
yeah, and it
favorite
was
one.
amazing. I loved it. And he's because you'd be standing there next to a tank or something, and he'd just be barking at you about it. And
Hmm.
and he did it in such a like a much more kind way. Of course, he's on TV. He's not going to drill instructor you, to the
Right.
audience, whatever you. But you could just tell he definitely has kicked some ass, And he's like talking about, and this is the, whatever, and this is the LMG we use for, and I'm just like, yes, please fire that. Will you please fire that? Please, yes, fire that some more.
Right.
I do love the sound and the feeling of firing large caliber weapons. I've done it very little, but I like to at
Even
least
just being
watch them in
around them.
movies. Yeah, and just see him get in a tank. He always had a Jeep, because he'd show up in one of the original Jeeps,
Yep.
and I love those. I wouldn't personally own one because I think there are people that would be much better at it and could maintain it better. I would just want, something to run around in the mud, and I don't think that'd be appropriate for like an actual World War II Jeep or something. But I loved it. He'd roll up in and like mail call, and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Speaking
Got
of
him.
Speaking of Jeeps, that there's some people that have been able to come across fully cargoed Jeeps that hadn't even been put together from World War II. Like they
Nice. Still in the
and
box. All
yeah,
right.
and put them together. I forget, there was a show I saw where they came across one in like a storage unit or something like that, which is
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Well,
So,
that's awesome.
but we were
That's
talking
awesome.
about too, like just those things that you do with your hands, like, crocheting and stuff that are just good ways to just sort of kind of disconnect from technology, I guess is another way to put it too.
Hmm.
I had seen where it was like a featurette piece or whatever, but they were talking to Tom Hanks and how like he collects typewriters, and they were doing
Interesting.
this whole featurette on typewriters and how like there are still people that use them to this day. And in Philadelphia, there is actually a class that is held by an author, and the entire thing is done, like all the papers and things that they write are all done with typewriters. And so like there's like all these like younger folk that are coming to this class and doing it, because one of the things that he said was, he's like, you have to formulate the sentence in your head before you actually like type it out. It's
Yes.
not like you can type it out and be like, oh crap, and like go back and
Yeah. There's
and
no
and fix it, that kind of deal. And so
rewind.
yeah, and so he I guess went to like the head of the school or whatever and was like, I have this idea, and they were just like, this is a no-brainer, like let's do this. And he had this they show like this full classroom of students in there, and they're typing away doing different things and different types of typewriters, but they're all like, none of them are electric, like they're all the old school style. So that was really neat to see. And I'm like, like I had an old typewriter, one of those big metal hunks of
Yeah.
typewriter when I was a
Yeah.
kid. I remember changing out the ribbon and, doing all that
Nice.
kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure like some of my first like reports, because they told you could either type it out or, write it out. And I remember typing a couple different reports when I was in like junior high, because I mean computers were not
Hmm.
that like weren't a
Yeah.
thing or
Well, they
in
had
there.
typing classes. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah. No.
at high school, there was a typing class, and I'm like, cool. I would like to learn to type. I didn't take it, but
To this day, I still, when I sat down to sit down at a computer to type anything out, my hands specifically go to the formation of what I can do now, where I don't have to look at the keyboard. I know exactly where all the letters are and can type out, that kind of deal. And that's such a lost art,
you're
like
schooled
skill.
in the ancient magics. Can you drive a stick?
Hell yes, I can
There
drive
you
a
go.
stick. Are you kidding
And you
me?
can write in cursive. That's it, man.
Oh
You
yeah.
are a wizard. You are
The only
almost
thing
an
I didn't learn was Morse
archmage,
code.
right?
That was the
Yeah, I
only
learned
thing.
like one word. I learned, well, technically two. I learned SOS, which is very common. I think everybody, dot. And then I learned that OSO is bear in Russian, which everybody knows that now because Special Agent Ojo, OSO. But because someone was trying to send out an SOS on a show I was watching, and they were actually doing it backwards and doing OSO. And so, yeah, I know two
Well,
words in Morse code.
I will tell you this much too,
Useless knowledge.
as far as the Morse code goes. If you want to learn it, or if your kids are interested in learning it, Reese Darby, I can't get this to come in, but Reese
Hmm.
Darby, he's the Jeep driver from the new Jumanji movies,
Oh, yeah.
New Zealander. So he was in the New Zealand military,
Okay.
and he is one of the last people to have actually learned and trained on Morse code. And so he wrote a couple of books called Top Secret Undercover Notes of Buttons McGinty. And
Nice.
throughout the
Buttons
book,
McGinty.
as you're reading it, you actually need a notepad with you, because he teaches you Morse code while you're
Sweet.
reading it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So, and there's two different books for it. I got to meet him actually when I was last in San Antonio, when I was there for Dad 2.0, because he was on Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. They did an
Nice.
in-person
Yeah,
recording
yeah.
of
Oh,
that.
there. All right.
Yeah, there. Yeah. And so I got to meet him. It was when the first book came out too. And so he was, telling everybody about it. So I actually got him
Buttons
to
McGinty.
sign a book for Hezekiah and Ruby. So I actually have a signed copy of his first book, which is really cool. But they, yeah, like really neat book. And like I said, like it teaches you Morse code, which is pretty cool. But that's the
Nice.
thing. All those old school stuff, like it's still useful. You can find things to use it, even if
Yeah.
it's just something like, oh, that'd be cool to know.
Right. Right. So we're running close to end of time here. So I've got one more thing, and that's it. And I'm just gonna make an announcement, and then we can move on and close the show, whatever you want to do from there. But just yesterday,
Yeah.
yeah, 2 days ago, I guess, Marcus, my 12-year-old, came out as transgender. So we're changing their pronouns to she, they, and he's going to be spending the summer thinking of a new name. And he actually asked, did we have a name picked out for him in utero? We know, we didn't know if he was going to be a boy or a girl, and he might be able to use that name. And I'm like, pretty sure we gave that to your little sister, but yeah, but we could figure something out, right? So that's Happy Pride.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great.
Sounds like definitely lots of excitement going on in the Mercer family this summer. So well,
And
congratulations on that.
a friend of mine, local, who is trans mask and just an awesome dude. I told the group that we're in together, and he goes, "All right, I got to ask, which one of y'all's DNA is doing this? One of you is secretly gay. You got to be." I'm like, "Nah, I don't think so." But it was hilarious. And it was most hilarious because it was coming from him. So it was meant as a funny sarcasm as opposed to the
Yeah.
potential I'm going to get from, whoever. It's like, what's in the water over there? What are you doing? There's going to be some comments like that, but that's cool.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, big changes, big changes. And right here at Pride. And I thought, this is perfect, buddy. You're going to
Yeah.
have a great summer. And next year, going to junior high. And well, that's just garbage for anybody. Everybody, junior high is wrong. So
Yeah,
we'll
junior
deal
high
with it
is
when we get
always
there.
I think it's just that transition. There's so much going on in
Hmm?
young kids' bodies at that time. And then on top of
Yep.
it too, it's like I've only got, 6, 7 more years of school basically. That and then it's all adult
Yeah.
life at that
I'm an
point.
adult.
So
Yeah.
yeah, 6 years flies by. So that's the one thing
Sliding down a hill.
that's the one thing I've been trying to tell my oldest too. So that is get ready for it. So which he actually has got his first little like job. He's gonna mow our neighbor's yard every other week for her. So
Good for
yeah.
him. Good
So
for him.
but man, lots of exciting things. Thanks for sharing that too. That, so hopefully that process is smoother for them than it is for others. It has been.
Yep.
So, and I think that you guys
Well, we
have
got a lot
been,
of privilege in our house. So we will avoid a lot of the complications that the transgender children run into just monstrously.
sure.
That's a long subject to talk about, so I won't bring it up any
Yeah,
further.
that's a can. We won't crack that open
It
anymore
really
then.
is.
But
It
yeah,
needs to
it
be
is.
talked about, but maybe not here, not right now. So
Sure. Definitely. But hey, happy Pride to those who are celebrating that, and hopefully also to just enjoying sharing information and having open conversations with folks. I know that's one of the things with it is being open to having conversations about pride, and so hopefully that is something that continues and seeing everybody for who they are on a daily basis. So, well, hey, I think that's the end of the show. So
we're
we
there.
will talk to you all next week. Hope you have a great week as it is, and yeah, peace out.
Happy Pride and good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.